screen, if you're writing down what's on my screen, you are doing the wrong thing. This is not yours either. I lied. I did not fill this out yet. Well, okay, here's the thing. I was going to move forward with a new lesson, and instead I decided not to make sure that we're prepped and ready, and before we move on, good with everything we need to be. So, remember, tomorrow, your posters are due. Your posters are due by tomorrow. Tonight, your homework is CC3 Ch5 Closure, and we're going to do it together during class, so hopefully you walk out of here with no homework. But it's only numbers 62 to 68. It's not much. And for the fact that we're doing it together in class, it's not much. Bless you. Moving that back on TV. We are here. So, first thing I want to do, I'm going to set this timer to 10 minutes. I am going to try my darndest to not do anything on the board for 10 minutes. During that time, you should be asking questions of your peers or of me as I walk around directly at your desk, or just working on what you need to work on. Your math journals are going to be collected tomorrow. If you do not ask any questions today, what you are communicating to me is that you are completely caught up on your practice work, you are ready to turn in your math journal, and everything makes good sense to you. So especially since I've been posting the answer keys, not just that you're done, but that it all makes sense and that you're ready for mastery. Depending on how much time we have today or how things go, I might give you guys a little bit of time to revisit a problem from that chapter 4 mastery. Otherwise, we will revisit that quickly. A lot of you guys did not do the proportions representations, which is okay, because it was kind of really weird with snow days and different stuff. But we got to wrap that up at some point. And then I am modifying an assessment still for tomorrow. So we are taking a small assessment over the chapter 5 content from CC3. Yes.
Are we doing that in class today, right?
Yeah, you can start it now.
Okay.
We're not doing anything else.
Okay. I just need to know what
Yep.
to write down.
So for those of you who want to know what to expect, especially since we were kind of jumping all over the place there for a hot minute, when we come back next week, like tomorrow we're having assessments. When we come back next week, we are going through the rest of CC2 7.1 and 7.2, and then CC2 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. We're kind of flowing through 7th grade stuff again for a while, up until we get through chapter 9. Okay, so starting Tuesday. Why was I going to say Tuesday? I think I was maybe going to say tomorrow, and then my brain got confused. Starting Monday, we just kind of start the flow again. That is the natural progression through 7th grade content, chapter 7, 8, and 9. Oliver.
I have a question about actually homework in chapter 4 that I needed help on, but then never remembered to actually get help.
We can go there.
So,
We have the technology.
467, it says...
So you mean CC3?
Okay,
Yeah,
happy
CC3.
February.
Yeah, happy February.
4.17.
For what?
1.7.
What problem?
67. So I don't quite understand what they want me to do here.
So, it's saying use what you know about M and B to graph each equation. We've actually been doing stuff like this also through science, Mr. Cabilo. We are talking about the slope-intercept form of a line. Booven, you're help us out here.
Ow.
We know that.
Are we okay? Any serious injuries?
We already know that M is 2 and B is...
Careful. Now hold on, let's back up. In general, what does M give us and what does B give us?
M is slope, B is...
And slope is actually talking about change behavior, right? So this morning when we talked about delta and foundations really quickly, I was going to throw something out there about it means change, but then I thought that would just confuse people. Remember, It's delta y, the rise, over delta x, the run. B gives us the y-intercept value, or where it hits the y-axis. Now, something you said wasn't quite right. In A, what's our m value? What is our slope? Because if I turn this around, it's negative 2x plus 3, because it's a positive 3 and a negative 2x. So slope, negative 2, y-intercept of 3. This is when using homework help is especially effective, because if you go to homework help and you go to Desmos, you can graph these on the computer and then just print it. You can graph all 4 on the same. Actually, I don't know if this will take you to Desmos, but you could just go to Desmos on your own. So, do I have Desmos up here? I do not. I have it on my laptop, but I don't have it on those buttons. Well, I'm out of space for bookworks, so that's the problem.
There's a little arrow thing and you can click
I
on it.
know, but that's just as long as typing in DES. So if you didn't want to make a manual graph, you can come in here and tell it y equals negative 2x plus 3, and it makes your graph for you. You can make another one and then start to compare. So my next one was y equal to just positive 2x. My next one, yeah, so you can keep going. Then you could just print that. Now, this is probably almost just as fast to do on graph paper if you're already doing your homework on graph paper. I don't care which method you take, but if you do it online, you got to print it. So you got to have the ability to print it.
How do you print things on Desmos?
So I would, if it was me, just go to a print option for your window. So you can drop this away by clicking here, that drops that away. You can drop this away by clicking that. But I would like to see what you're graphing. Just make sure that you have a decent window of what you see. We like to be able to see all 4 quadrants. And then I think there's a Desmos print option, but your internet print option. So this just converted. It went to the Desmos print option. But notice my window got modified.
Because I couldn't figure out how to print it yesterday, because I'm like, I need to print the graph, but I don't know.
Look for, some people, I forget what people call this. It's like a stack of dots or a stack of lines. It sometimes looks like a waffle or like a stack of pancakes.
Yeah.
Print is normally, now if you're on a Chromebook, that won't work the same.
Yeah. I was just trying to do it at home and I didn't know.
I think there's a print option somewhere on here, but I'm not sure.
You can just search stuff online.
And if you're going to start to use Desmos, I would just create an account. It'll make your life easier. It'll save your graphs for you.
And then you can title it homework. You can title it homework. And
Yeah, like 5-143 or whatever you
If it
need.
gets messed up, you can always put it there so you can reprint it.
Refer back to it. Lines without a slope. Notice this doesn't have a slope.
Oh yeah.
Is that going to be vertical or horizontal? If y is equal to 3. So if I think about x, y axis, y is here, right? If y is equal to 3, I'm 3 here, I'm 3 here, I'm 3 here, I'm 3 here, I'm 3 here. The x doesn't matter. We end up horizontal. Now, if they tell you x equals, that's vertical. Other homework preguntas.
No.
I lied about the whole not doing anything on the board.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, you didn't. Because you said I will try very hard not to do anything.
I mean,
You did not say I will not do anything.
I had to use the board. Like I had to reference. I couldn't believe something.
yeah, I needed to.
Other questions? Guys, remember this is the accelerated class. So just to if you haven't heard, I started doing math lunches with my Math 7 kids for those who blatantly were just not putting in the effort they needed to be. So if you turn in your math journal this weekend, or if you don't turn in your math journal and don't talk to me, that tells me avoidance, and you're assume you're gonna have math lunch with me on Monday. If you don't turn in your math journal tomorrow, if you're not ready, assume you're having lunch with me on Monday. Unless you bust a move over the weekend and you're good. But I have some kids in my other math class that were totally not, blatantly not listening, not doing their table of contents, not heading their assignment, and that's unacceptable. It's February now. You're almost an 8th grader. We got to get you ready for this.
It's also very nice to have that because
Helps you stay organized.
Yeah, looking at
Nine. So that, you look at your M and your B. My y-intercept, where my graph would start, would be the value of 3.
Good morning, Piper Beth. Please come to the office. Piper Beth, please come to the office. Thank you.
My growth, quote unquote, is actually going down. So when I go to graph this, if I just like sketch a really quick graph, this will be 3. Then I go down 1 over 2. My next point is, because this was actually 0, 3, right? My x was 0. My next point is 2, 2. So I went down my y of 1. My x went over by 2. I keep doing this. My next point, I went over by 2 and down by 1. My next point, except that would be on the line, except my smartboard's goofed up, over by 2, down by 1. And then we make the line. Cool.
This actually isn't a math question. I was thinking about how you always have like style with what you wear. Do you have a peacock bow tie?
No.
Oh, you should get one. They're so cool.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's at
I don't like to spend money, so that's like number 1. I'd rather spend money on like a new sleeping bag. I need a new sleeping bag.
Speaking of peacocks, this woman tried to bring her peacock into
Oh,
the
the
airport,
Yeah.
and she bought a ticket for
You
the
guys
peacock
flying.
because she said it was
Yes.
an emotional support animal.
Yes, and none of this has to do with anything that we're doing right now. So back on topic, math questions. Yes.
I was doing this homework. I mean, it has numbers involved, but it's not.
No.
It's numbers, not numbers.
Otherwise, we can work on the closure. Remember, the 511 and 512 homework should also be in there in your math room.
This is confusing. I'm trying to do the homework and I already failed like 2 times.
Do you want some help?
Yes.
So Naya's hand was up first, and I'll come back to you. Naya. 511, number 7. Proportions. So, a way that we can try and a way that will always work. A way that we can try is going from one side to the other side and determining the rule that took us there. Now, depending on how good you are at math will depend on which way is going to be easier for you. I quickly recognize that with a base value of 10, all I need to think about is what times 10 makes 16. If you're good with that, you might determine 1.6. If not, the way that always works cross multiplication. Cross multiplication will always, always, always end it forever. Nobody can mess with it. We'll solve a proportion. So 10 times the x gives me 10x. 7 times 16. 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 6 is 42.
Caitlin Moore, please come to the office. Caitlin?
Is that right? That's not right.
No, that's not right.
What is 7 times 6? 7, 14, 21. That's 42, right?
Oh, so it's 11.2. Because it's times 26.
11 what? What?
No, no.
He's talking about the answer.
Yeah, the answer. X is.
No, we're not trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so this is 112, right? That's just what I was checking on. I got confused for a minute. Then, in cross multiplication, you have to know how to solve equations. So that's the one trick here. You have to then know this math. I divide by 10. X is 11.2. I got confused for a minute because we're not trying to get 1.6. We're trying to solve for x. That means that this is 11.2. If I would have used the 1.6 to get there, I would have taken my 7 times 1.6 and get 11.2. Nina?
I divided
6 16 by 10? Or are you doing B or C or D or a different part of it?
Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah. We're in 511 in CC3. Do you want B or C or D? B? Now this one I think is actually easier. We can quickly recognize the relationship between 6 and 3. What is that? Divide by 2, right? Or half. I can half my 15, find out that it's 7.5 and solve that. If we take the cross multiplication method, we would get that 6x was equal to 45. We then have to divide by 6. And you'd still get 7.5. Well, you would have a question.
Yeah, it's for tonight's homework though.
Tonight's homework. Hang on to it for a second. We'll get there. Other questions not from the closure? So what you're telling me is all of your homework is totally done. Your headers are good. Your table of contents is good.
This is not a homework thing, but I know one of my pages in here, I wrote like no scribble and blah, 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 but it's completely empty, like the whole page, because I did it on the resource.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, you could just write, like, we worked on a resource page if it stresses you out, but I'm fine with that. Yeah. Like, is that from 711? So I'm still, when I make faces like that, I'm still getting used to how these questions are all numbered. It used to just like, I don't want to go into it.
Oh, this one was the weird one.
As opposed to all of the normal ones.
Yeah.
All weird, including
Marcus Garvey. So if you don't catch, so the writers of CPM must have really like me-like sense of humor. Mark Harvey is a famous person, actor, whatever. Marcus Garvey, they're trying very hard. So 25% of the students bring their lunches from home. 225 students do not bring their lunches. How many students attend the school? Draw a diagram to make this work. Are you going to draw it? You got to come up here if you're going to answer. I mean, or do you want me to draw it and you talk it out?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Talk it out, Bilal.
Okay. Well, you know that 25% of the students bring their lunches, so 25% would equal, obviously, like, the kids who bring them. Oh, I didn't do a number wrong.
It says draw and label.
And so, I know that, so if 25% of students bring their lunches, and 225 students do not bring their lunches, obviously students have to eat their lunches. So that means 225 students that don't bring their lunch is 75% of the 100%. So you would, if you want to figure out the 25%, you would divide 225 divided by 3, since they go 75% to 25%, and that would equal
60?
wait, no, not that, right here. Yeah, 75, sorry. And then the total students is 350.
Good job, Bilal. Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep, that's yeah.
There are other ways to do this. You could set up a proportion. You could say, we know that 225 students is 75%. How many students will be 25%? Still divide by 3, divide by 3. However, you could also set up a proportion just straight jumping to the answer. Now your multiplication will be a bit more confusing to go from 75 to 100, but this would get you there. Or you could cross multiply and then divide to solve. There's multiple ways to solve this. and find the multiplication that way. Yeah. Which would be like 1.3 maybe? Because it's like it's gonna be like 1.3 repeating.
Yeah. 1.3 repeating. Ooh, that's a math game.
Because, and the only reason I know that is 100 is all of the 75 and another 25. 25 is a third of what we started with. So we have 1 and a third of what we started with.
Go!
Hey,
Smart
you-
guy.
Who what?
How many years have you been teaching?
How many years do you think?
A
You've
lot.
known me for like 3 years. I met you probably 3 years ago.
I want to say
Wait.
6. This is year 6.
Yay.
So I have 5 years behind you.
So, this is your
This is year 6. Hey, I have a question.
So do we have to answer like 713? Like, doesn't really tell you what. I mean, it tells you what you're supposed to do, but not really.
So, thank you for asking. 713 is essentially working on combining like terms. That's it. Just simplification. So when you work through here, if this was me, I'd rewrite it and then highlight or box or notate somehow, if you're still getting used to these skills. -3 cannot combine with 4x. They're not like. It can combine with the 2 though. Nope and nope. -3 and the 2. -1. Then go back again and pick up more. 4x, can it combine with 2x? Yeah. Can it combine with 2x? Yeah. How many x's in total?
8.
Or actually the proper way to write it is variables first. You could do that or you could do that. Yeah.
Okay, so when the proper way to do it, it's
Do you want to know why? Before you ask your question?
yes, sir.
So the reason it's proper is we look at order.
I don't like proper.
Order comes down to the power of the variable. So this doesn't have a variable, it's the lowest order there is, it's a constant value. When we go up to numbers with variables, x, y, whatever it is, if they have a power of 1, they're the next order up. When we raise the power to squared or cubed, so we'll have like x squared or x cubed, that's a higher power, so we just name from top down. Now, if you want to ask a question.
Things that answer it, but I'm not.
So imagine an expression like this, right? C, and by imagine, I mean let's do C. I don't know why I said imagine. So if we have an expression like C, first thing I see is 7x squared.
First thing you see,
Ha.
that's not
I
About
can't.
one, huh?
Hey, this is where people are trying to goof up. I can't add 3x with that. Cannot. They're different things. That's an x squared. That's an x. They're not the same. I can, however, add that 7x squared and nothing else. So I now have 14x squared. And that comes first because it's the highest order I have, really highest power. We then go back and look again. I now have a 3x. Can't add the 4. I can add the 3x.
That's weird. They're all
They're all in double.
double.
And then the 4 and the 4. No, I can't. It's like, because once it's written, it's not the same point that you touch, right? Because it's a little off. Ava? Yeah. I just made a poster about this morning because somebody was asking me about a problem like this from a different class though. So please notice out there in the hallway towards the academy, I'm starting to take over and just post posters of just different problems being solved. So I have one up there about the distributive property, which is what this is making us do. You want to talk through distributive property?
Yeah.
All right, go.
Can I do this problem?
Yeah. Or do you want to come up and do it?
Sure. Okay, so for this problem, you take 5, and so what I did is I just kind of distribute to each of these, so it becomes 5x subtract 20, and that's what it is, because 5 times x is 5x, 5 times 4 is 20. Basically, that's it.
So think of this as 5 sets of x and -4, or x minus 4. Now, I don't like subtraction. I also don't like division. Like, we're being honest, subtraction's harder than addition. Division's harder than multiplication. I don't like hard, right? I don't like difficult. I would at least think of this as 5 sets of x and -4. Because then 5 sets of x is 5x. 5 sets of -4 is -20. I can then rewrite it as 5x minus 20, but what I really have is a 5x, or 5 x's, and 20 negatives, or -20. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, like I understood. I just didn't know if I was doing it right.
Yeah, and you can write it plus a negative or just minus. I don't really care. Do not write minus a plus symbol. Like if you wrote 5x minus positive, like no, that is not correct. We don't do that. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's not correct. Right?
For B, when you were like adding the 4 and the negatives together, can you rewrite the problem as 4 minus?
Yes. You could rewrite it as 4 minus 3. Are you done with tonight's homework?
No, not tonight.
Well, then why are you sitting how you are and not doing, like, not progressing?
Oh.
You're like, use this time, man. I don't want to do homework tonight. If I was you, I'd do your homework right now. Other questions from anything we've covered this unit? Sorry that ending this unit has been awkward. It's the mid-year kind of whateverness. And yeah, I know we're like at the end of January, but hey, it's our first time through. Nice. Why do you have books on books back there?
Because I was in there and then I was in here and I was prepared.
Books on books on books. You said 7:15? Oh! Scale factors. This is something we need to get real comfortable with. We're going to do a lot of it next year, which is why, like, hey, this is the 8th grade textbook and you're doing a lot of it. I'm going to make your vision of scale factor a whole lot simpler. Side A, side B, whatever, we've got a shape, right? To go to some new side A or new side B, we get there through a multiplication of some number. That is your scale factor. Essentially, a scale factor is just a proportion. So if you have a side compared to a side, now you don't have to do this in a proportion, but we've done a lot with proportions, so I figured it might help. If you have a side compared to a side, say your 4 and your 5, just because you set those up because they're from the original, to go to my new shape, I have to do the same to each of them. So every side, and you don't have to do the proportion. So if I don't set it up as a proportion, if I just say, all right, what does 3 turn into, what does 4 turn into, and what does 5 turn into? So those are the only lengths that we've been given. With a scale factor of 2.5 times 2.5 times 2.5 times 2.5. Double and another half. Double and another half. Double and another half. There we go. Those are the new side lengths that will replace the previous. Or not really replace, but like it's a new shape. It's an enlarged shape. And then, of course, find the perimeter and the area. Now, area formulas we've been working a decent amount with. In case you forget, area of a triangle is half its base times its height. Because it is half of a rectangle. So half base times height. That's how you find triangle. Base and height have to make a right angle. The 5 has nothing to do with finding your area. How we find the area is base height. So my smartboard's goofed up. So this base is part of the square. How long is that base? 4. The new base will be 10. Más preguntas? Sure, we only got 15 minutes left. Anything from tonight's homework? First two are like 62, 63.
I just figured out
62 and 63.
I just need
I had A for 62, but I need B, A, and B.
What? No. How about you both? Wait, I need A.
A for 62, I got
63. Wait, am I doing the wrong one? Probably.
I can do A for 62.
No, we're doing that, right?
Yeah, B probably is harder.
Yeah.
I'm so
Some of what I'm
A was fairly easy.
Never mind, I don't need help with A. I was looking for the wrong problem.
Okay, Annie.
Okay. I'm just weird, don't mind me.
Some of what I'm throwing at you guys is meant to push you. I gotta see where we're at. The only way to see where we're at is push you further than where you are and see where it is that you fail. Or stumble. Let's not even use the N word. This, we should, hopefully, know how to distribute here. So I'm going to rewrite my left side. It becomes 12x minus 30 when we distribute. That equals negative x plus 4. Or, sorry, be careful. That's the opposite of x and 4, which gives you the opposite of x and the opposite of 4. You could either write it minus 4 or plus a negative 4. I like to make my negatives negative as opposed to minus. Well, you'll see here in a moment. Now all we actually have to do is combine like terms. Get your x with your x and your numbers with your numbers. This guy seems lonely. Negative x all by himself. I could delete him by doing what? Take away the negative x. Or really add x. Take away a negative is really add an x. Remember additive inverses? You cancel each other out. They're gone. And do it over here. I now have 13x. But I still got that minus 30. But now this side is just negative 4. And you don't really need it in parentheses. Now that my x's are over there, I want to get my numbers over here.
So I did it.
All, are you up for a question or an answer?
Question.
Oh, well then just hang on.
So,
Or is it about this?
yeah, well, it's about the homework in general.
Okay.
So, is this, if I'm correct, this homework is due Monday.
Really, because we're working on it today in class, it's due tomorrow.
Okay.
Like, that's my goal, is that we've done enough in class that you guys can wrap it up tonight. And it's only like 6, 7 problems. So, I'm doing, like, this is why I'm trying to do stuff for you guys. So at this point, to get rid of or cancel out a minus 30 or a negative 30, we add 30. This becomes 13x equals 26. X is 2. Because we divide by 13 and divide by 13. Now moving on to 63. Do you want A or B?
Both.
I don't want to do both.
You're not to be lazy. You're the math teacher.
I'm not being lazy. I'm just pushing it to you.
Dude, wait. A is easier than show us how to do A, and then we can do B.
Yeah, then one of us can be with everyone.
How about you do both?
I need both.
I guarantee B's harder.
B and A are pretty much the same. A is just missing one piece that B has. B and A both involve x's, y's, and numbers. The only difference between B and A is that we've got a number on both sides in B. We've only got a number on one side. Okay, now remember, this is not a number. That's a multiplier. It is a number. Like, I'm not just like losing my mind. But it's a multiplier. This is just a number, right? It's just 6. So we got to combine like terms. Here, to do that, you have to choose what goes where. You're trying to solve for x, so we want to get this alone. Start getting rid of the other stuff. Take away the 6. That gives me
3x equals y minus 1.
those don't cancel, by the way. Be careful.
No, you divide it by 3.
Now what do I do?
You divide by 3.
This is where people are going to screw
the
up.
whole side.
Wait, have you? Oh, one third
Push it
equals.
That's what I got, and then I was like, okay, I don't know what to do.
Y divided by 3, right? That's what we're saying. Y gets divided by 3. You can't, so you write it like that.
So that's the answer.
That's it.
Oh my god, I thought I was right.
I thought we had to like come up with.
No, that's
I have
it.
to get a number.
This isn't saying find a value for. It's just saying solve for. Isolate. Get it by
Can we say,
itself.
wait, can we say 1/3 times y?
You can, but that's actually more writing. What if I said no?
1.75.
Oh, then I can do the other one easily.
I want to get the y by itself. Guys, always, please get in the habit, always rewrite the original problem. Never, ever will you find a math teacher, physics, science, or anybody that tells you you don't need to rewrite the problem. You have to know where you're starting. Because then if you go to talk with a classmate about this and you don't want to open your book, you got to make sure you know where you started. So rewrite the problem. Then we are trying to solve for y. Sometimes I like, just to remind myself, what my target is. I'm trying to know what y equals. So I got to get it by itself. What's the first thing I should move off that side? Get the 2x over to the other side. However, to do it, we, like Annie said, subtract the 2x. Now we can't do that on the right side, quote unquote. So we just don't do it. We just write it. We now have 5y equals, now variables first is more correct. So negative 2x plus 10. Or 10 minus 2x, but variable first is more correct. Then what do I do to isolate the y? Divide each side, the whole things, by 5.
What is it?
0.4. Wait, what? How?
Everything gets divided by 5, right? So the negative 2x gets divided by 5. Now, I could write this, and I knew this is where you were going to get upset, in about 4 different ways. What probably upset you when that first popped up was that I wrote the x out beside it as opposed to with the negative 2. A lot of you probably want me to write it like this.
No.
You're in 7th grade. I'm not expecting to make you happy.
Yeah, that's totally how I want you to write it.
Another way, come on. Another way is negative 2 divided by 5x, like I said first. Another way is actually putting the x on bottom. Another way is actually here's the thing though. This is better than that.
Yeah, well, I don't care.
This is better than that because when you go to graph it, slope is better as a fraction. Slope given as a decimal is annoying because what this tells me is negative 4, go down by 4 when your x goes over by 10. I don't want to do that. This is easier to go down by 2 and over by 5.
Yeah,
But
you
what?
need to simplify it.
I didn't one more way that.
So there is, in my mind, checking your answers. There's no difference between these. However, if we were graphing, this is better. Not that this is wrong. This is just better. Hmm. Yes.
Okay, so for 66,
At least I hope.
so it says by graphing it and then algebraically using the equal values.
I thank you for asking about that. The equal values method, another thing we didn't quite touch on, like you would have if you were in the standard class as opposed to the accelerated. If you're told y is 7x minus 5, and then you're also told that y is negative 2 plus 13. You've been told y is 7x minus 5, and y is negative 2x plus 13. All they did was give a fancy name. If they give you two different things for what y is, then those two different things have to be equal to each other. That's the equal values method. When given two expressions for y, they must be equal. Then we can solve, but here's the piece that extends beyond what you know. And this is okay. You can use homework help, and I'm not expecting that you guys get completely done with all of these, but this is why we're talking about it together. When I work through 66, and you have the answers to this, gravity. Remember that you have the answers to this. Sorry, it's actually right here. X comes out to be 2. Okay, so when you solve this, X becomes 2. Hold up. Here's where you then, when it says solve the system, and I know it says first by graphing, but you could do that in Desmos, right? That the computer can do for you. If I find out that X is 2 and I need to know the Y, because when we solve a system, it's actually a point. No, I'm making this easier on your assessment. Just let me finish my point. If X is 2 and you need to solve for Y, plug it in. You now can figure out Y because you already figured out X. What's 7 times 2? Minus 5. So your answer for A is the 0.29. That's your answer. X value of 2, Y value of 9. Now remember, all of the answers are in the book. If you flip another page, they show you the graphs, they show you everything, and they give you references for where in your book you can look if you're confused. Now. Sorry, say it again. So that's saying this line and that line, because both of those are actually showing a line, right, the slope intercept. They're saying that line and that line intersect at some point. As opposed to if they were never equal, they'd be parallel. They'd never intersect. Hello?
Wait, where did you get x equals 2?
I looked in the answer key because I didn't want to take the time to solve it.
Oh, okay.
You have it too. You have the answers in your book. Depends on where it is. I forget what the problem 68 is. Oh, cross multiply. So in a situation like A, you would do 5 times x plus 1, and that becomes 5x plus 5, equal to the other cross multiplication would be 3 times x plus 2, 3x plus 6. Then you do the combined like terms to solve. So subtract 3x from both sides, I get 2x plus 5 equals 6. Subtract 5 from both sides, I get 2x equals 1, and I get x equals a half. B, you can do a couple different ways. Common denominators will probably be your easiest because you're trying to add fractional amounts. We are out of time. Please get your work done. Please be ready to turn in your math journal tomorrow. I will be down here for lunch in case you want some extra time. Literally just said that. Have a wonderful day, guys. You're done. Be here. Okay. Oh, the empty set. No solution. Because if you want to write something out, you write no solution. talking about B for 66. Oh, yeah, so those lines don't ever meet. So, since there's no solution to this set, there's no way that that can be true. It means the lines never cross. You can write that. Because it says, explain how the graph confirms the algebraic result. The lines are parallel and will never meet. Yeah, that's the explanation. We have another class that we're going to.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Sky, you're right back there.